That's the hardest part about all of this, is to narrow it down to one thing, because Virginia really didn't want it to have a lot of boundaries. She wanted it to be a lot of things to a lot of people. Every day at 577 is completely different. For the day-to-day, for me personally, as the executive director, I'm responsible for overall leadership of the organization, vision and direction of where we're headed next. Where are we coming from is what we're doing today, rooted in where we came from in the past. When we talk about 577, we like talking about the people that created this space. We also like talking about the land itself. This was originally indigenous land. Before any of us were here, it was being taken care of by indigenous folks who lived here and lived in harmony with nature. The house was built in 1935. It has a lot of similar architecture to the Wildwood property in Toledo, because those were cousins of the Stranahans that were building the property here. 577 is our address, but historically it's what her grandchildren would call this place when they would come visit Grandma. Virginia Stranahan was very interested in the arts. She thought it was important for people to experiment with history, culture, the arts, the natural world, and so all of those components are what make up the 577 Foundation today. She was extremely well-traveled, she was extremely well-educated, she was relentlessly curious, and she wanted everyone around her to be so as well. She and her husband Duane bought this property in 1935. Prior to that, it was a gentleman's farm or a hobby farm, so people would come here to escape the rigors of business life in Toledo. In order to have a functioning gentleman's farm, they needed to also have animals and they needed to have some machinery. And so in the same property, they built a barn, which we use today for classes and for the Welcome Center and the Curiosity Shop. But back then they were using it for all of their wagons, their machinery, the things they needed to take care of a small hobby farm. When they bought the property, they bought it to raise their 6 children. So they raised their 6 children here starting in 1935. Around 1985, as she was getting on in years, she said, I don't know what to do with this property. I want it to be for the community. I want it to be green space. I want people to be able to have access to the river. And so I want to give this back to the community. The circle where we have our community gardens currently was the riding rink. So the reason that they're in a circle and the reason that the dome is positioned where it is a nod to the history of having horse riding rinks in a big circle right in the middle of the property. So it almost looks like a sun with rays radiating out of it, and it's because that was a round area that was already rounded when she came. The gardens themselves, no, we did not have nearly that number of gardens, although she did have gardening staff and she did have people that came in to help her out with the gardens. We're trying to promote best practices in growing and in natural environments. So that's part of the reason that we're keeping things organic. That's part of the reason that we focus on pollinators. A lot of the pollinators that we focus on here are on the endangered species list or are close to being endangered. So the honeybee in North America right now is not in great shape. And there are lots of reasons that that might be the case. But either way, regardless of what the reasons are, it is important to us that we're focusing on ways to educate people about the importance of having really healthy pollinator populations. So the log cabin was built around 1803, 1804, so it's by far the oldest building that we have on our property. It is not original to the spot that it's in right now. On the day that it was moved, they had a whole processional of a fully formed log house on the back of a flatbed truck, and in the very front of the processional was Virginia in her golf cart leading the way. She was a preservationist. As much as she was a visionary, she also wanted to make sure that we kept an eye on history. The geodesic biodome is something that Mrs. Stranahan saw when she was on a visit to Aspen, Colorado. She saw it at John Denver's house and wanted one here in Perrysburg. What's fascinating about that structure is that it's extremely strong. It's similar to a Buckminster Fuller design, so for the architecture buffs out there, they'll know that that is very much one of the strongest hexagonal pieces that are all over it are making that structure really strong. On the interior, we have a pond that helps regulate the temperature of the interior. The koi fish in there, some of them are over 20 years old. It's a family favorite for people to come and feed the fish. Because of the structure, you can have arid plants growing in the same place as tropical plants. And I think what's wonderful about it is that we can show people that might not have the means to travel the way that Mrs. Stranahan did. Where else are you going to see a banana plant? Where else are you going to see that size cactus? To be able to have those here for people to be able to see the variation of plant life in the world is just really fun for us to be able to have. We couldn't do this without volunteers. We really couldn't. The talented people that come through here that just want to be involved are incredible. We qualify our volunteers, so we find out what they're interested in, what they're good at, what kinds of things they want to work on, what they want to learn about, what are you curious about. We do that with every single person that comes to volunteer here. Sometimes they want to work in the curiosity shop because they love books. Sometimes they love being outside and they would never want to hang out in the shop all day. They want to be outdoors. And so we accommodate that as best we can. Other people are just social butterflies and want to welcome visitors when we have open houses at Virginia's house. They want to show people around, they want to talk about the architecture, and so we try to find a good sweet spot for every volunteer that's coming. The 577 Foundation is open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We make sure that the park and the grounds area is completely free. We've got a nature play area, which is really good for children's brain development. Classes do carry a fee with them because we think it's important to compensate artists for the skills and abilities that they're teaching other people. But again, we subsidize those and we try to keep those costs really low so that they are accessible to everybody that might want to come and be curious about art. I would say that 577 has something for you no matter what you're looking for. If you are looking for community, if you are looking for peace, if you are looking to feel rejuvenated, if you need to see nature, if you need to connect with another person, if you need to be creative, if you need to rest, this is the kind of place that you will find all of those different things.